What we've got here is failure to communicate.
All right, everybody, welcome back to Common Ground with Jimmy P. And this is going to be a combination of Common Ground with Jimmy P. and Common Ground with Jimmy P. Common Sense Makes Sense. Today we're introducing to you to Fran Sisco, and we're going to have Robert LaCara on, and we're going to venture into the world of I call it transgenderism. It's my own word, right? My own word.
Right.
So Fran said it's my own word.
That's
what I call it, and I'm not trying to offend nobody. Got Robbie on. Also, he'll be on in a few minutes. We're going to get a quick introduction of Fran, who you are, why you're here, and she's going to help us learn, the people that don't know about the trans community as well, because right now it's mainstream, and we have to try to all come to a comfortable medium. That's what the whole Common Ground is about. Okay, Fran, her name is Fran Sisco. I said her, I'm learning, and I'm not trying to make jokes. This is just reality.
Jimmy, so glad to be here.
Okay, thank you, Fran.
And with
Robbie
and Brian. And
Brian's over here too. We don't have a camera on him today, but
yeah. So
we want to have Fran. Tell us a little about yourself.
You know, being transgender is a really positive experience, but the word transgender has many different meanings to many different people. Some people conjure up an image of, let's say, a transvestite prostitute, you know, in the city,
like in the 70s,
a sex worker, right? That some people conjure up that image. My mother used to conjure up that image when I finally told her I was transgender. And then there are people who are sort of transgender in their mind and they're not expressing themselves. So let me give you an example.
Yeah, you confused me on that.
I think of myself as a woman, right? That's how I think of myself. Although I don't throw away my male self. You know, I don't burn the photos of when I was a guy. If somebody makes a mistake and calls me Frank instead of Fran, I don't get upset with them and stuff. Right. So I recognize that. Now that's
Is that acceptable in the trans community, or you look down upon it?
This is what I'm getting at. The trans community is not a unified community. It's very diversified. So you have everything from, say, that example of sex workers who are born male, trying to be female. Some on the other side, born female and trying to be male. They're called trans men, right? You have that extreme, and that's tied in with sexuality. Then you have another extreme who is more mental, about more brain-oriented and feeling-oriented about being trans. So, for example, from when I was 10 years old, I wanted to be a girl. I used to pray at night.
You knew at 10?
I knew at 10 that something was wrong. That why is it that I wanted to...
You said the word wrong. A lot of trans people would be offended by you even saying that.
No,
which I don't think.
I don't think you should be offended. There's an age thing. Right. People who are younger. Well, let me go back to the sort of a definition of being trans. Trans often means transition from one gender to another gender.
Right.
So some people, it's like going on a train, and there's a destination. Right. Some people's destination, when they're male and they're trans, want to be completely female. Completely female to them may mean not only making physical changes like getting breasts and, you know, taking off their penis and stuff like that. It may be as dramatic as that.
That's dramatic.
Or it could be that they're okay with just cross-dressing once in a while. There are millions in that category. Millions, not just thousands. There's millions of people who cross-dress on occasion. Like when you see some old friends that show up on Halloween dressed as a girl and they look pretty damn good, that's not the only night that they put on a dress.
Because in high school, I did Aunt Jemima for a Halloween party, which today I would have got crucified for.
Yeah, well,
I wore my mother's house dress, put pillows in it.
For also sort of ridiculing race and stuff like that.
No, but I was. To me, Aunt Jemima was my hero. I love Aunt Jemima.
Right.
Pancakes are fun. I think it's sad thing they took her off the box.
Yeah, I think so too. And like some of the other things.
They didn't take her off the Quaker Oats box.
Cancel culture is really destroying.
We'll get into that on another show.
Okay.
We're going to bring you on for cancel culture with Fran.
Let's go back to being transgender.
All right, so are you a trans
just
male or
share-
woman? Because I don't know what that is.
Okay. I'm a trans woman, meaning that my identity is really as a woman. You may see me, I don't know if do you see me as a woman?
Now I do, but I got to be honest with you. When I'm talking with you on the phone,
That's right.
you're.
Right.
Listen. Fran grew up basically in my neighborhood. I'm from the Bronx. She's from Mount Vernon. Just like my buddy Wayne Root, who has a couple of shows out in Vegas. Wayne Root's a Jewish guy, but he acts Italian. Robbie's half Jewish, half Italian. So I'll tell you that. And when you grew up in our neighborhood, where Fran and I grew up, Italian guys we're like the same.
Yeah, we are the
So
same.
when I'm talking to Fran on the phone,
also,
it's like one of my buddies, you know.
Partly because
Like I don't want to call
we're
your buddy your
expressive.
sweetheart. That's my dilemma here.
Right.
You know, on the phone, your buddy, here, your sweetheart.
If you meet a Italian American girl who grew up like that, she also sounds, even though she's a rung higher with her voice, she also sounds similar gestures, similar storytelling, similar things like that, right? So with me, for being trans, when I grew up very much a guy because I was in denial that something was wrong, and going back to this,
and denial's not just a river in Egypt, you know. But go ahead. I had to get that.
You got it. We'll get on a stage together.
Okay.
You know I do stand-up comedy and stuff.
Yes, Fran's a stand-up comic too.
So
we'll post our shows coming
to
up.
terms, one difference is in the word transgender is the degree of change. So when I was saying that transgender was transitioning from one gender to another gender, it doesn't have to be. It could be transgender being spanning two genders. So a person who is in the middle or somewhat to the right being female, in my case, I feel I'm representing a greater part of the population who are trans females because I haven't thrown out the male part of me, being a son, to two parents who are now deceased, being a brother, being a guy, being a boxer, being a really good pool player, billiards player, being a person usually on the top, sexually and stuff like that.
Okay.
I'm not throwing.
I thought you might have financially.
But what I want to make this point. So, me, like many people who are in, let's say the plus 45 category.
Okay, plus 40. I'm up there. I'm in there.
Plus 45 category.
Robbie's 32. But go ahead.
Are mostly sexuality and gender are two different things. I know. See,
I agree with that in a sense.
Most of them still like and prefer women. I still would rather be with a woman if I could sexually.
How does that work?
Romantically.
So you're not. You didn't have bottom surgery. See, I know bottom surgery, and I heard that on TV.
Right. I haven't had bottom surgery.
And you're not going
but
right?
I have been on hormones, so I have breasts, and they're nice looking.
You're a nice looking.
What?
They're nice. By the way, they're nice looking.
I'll
pass for now if you don't mind.
You're really cute.
But
I put on a couple of pounds, so I don't think I'm going to look good if I went down to Florida on the beach.
So you're basically
in a bikini.
All right, let's just cover this real quick.
Yeah.
You're basically a woman. Now that's in your mind, but it's your whole self now, right? Correct.
Yeah, identify as a woman.
You identify as a woman, but you do know that you're a man, correct? In a way.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
so this is where I find the problem with today. Because a lot of, and I think it's generational, like you said. We come from a different generation, you and I. I think the younger generation wants people to accept, I'm trans, I am not a biological woman, I am not a biological man, I'm a biological woman. Biology is totally different. But now here's the kicker. Most people see you, and the term, I'm going to say the term, but please don't cancel me. We're from the 60s and 70s over here, this gang. Anyway, she's a fag. Fran's not gay.
Wait a minute. Now wait, you just like gave me a little brush of a slap there.
No.
When you see me, I know you're saying about. By the way,
I would assume you like men.
When I started living full-time female,
right?
I thought the way to do it was I had to speak like this. I had to go like this. I had to be much more female. If I spoke to you on the
Yeah,
phone,
but that's
you would
acting
think.
now, right?
But that's right. That's acting.
But now
that's
when a gay guy
being
does that
me.
naturally, how does that happen? I always
Well,
wondered about how they get that list. Like, hi, I never understood how that goes.
You know, part of that is instead of being domineering and like a dominating person,
an alpha.
An alpha male. Instead of being, and many trans people, I'm an alpha male.
Yeah, right. After knowing you a few days, yeah.
So
I can see that.
When I would go, for example, to a trans conference, let's say 20 years ago, before, I went full-time female, I would go to these conferences. There would be 700 guys like me in a hotel, fancy hotel, dressed as women. 700. I'm not talking about there's like a few stragglers. Like
it's a good market, huh?
It's a phenomenal market.
Good market.
So these people were spending, and it was because it was their chance. The 3 days being a woman was their real great chance.
Right.
But you know what would happen? When we would get together and have a few drinks before we would go listen to somebody give a talk on having bottom surgery or the best way to meet people or how to apply your cosmetics and stuff. When we would meet, we would end up talking about being a guy. We would talk about when we were at the bar, we were shooting pool. When we were talking business. Most trans, like men, alpha males, we might not have been talking as much about sports, but we would sometimes. But we were definitely talking about risks, being a business owner, because many trans females who are older, I'm saying this 45 plus, are not loners, but they've learned to live
and
be alone because they felt like they were secretive their whole life. So now what happens is all my life I felt like I was hiding this. Don't get me wrong, I used to be popular and, whatever I say popular. I used to go out a lot and stuff like that, but I would be mainly acting out. When I went with my friends down to, say, the Camelot Club in the Bronx to pick up girls and stuff like that, I was very much a guy, but I always felt like I was hiding something. I was living a secret. When I uncorked that on 1111, like 10 years ago, my life exploded.
1111?
Yeah, I deliberately... It was
November 11th.
No. January 1.
Oh, 1-1. I think you meant 11.
Yeah, 0-1. Yeah. And when I did that, it really was an amazing experience. In fact, I wrote a play about it and in a book, and I'm very happy about how my life has turned out. Really happy about being fully expressed. And my message to people who are now maybe watching this show, thinking, "Ooh, that sounds like me." On a weekend, I put on my wife's dress or my mother's bra and stuff like that.
I've heard these stories before.
And it's
a friend of mine was getting divorced because of it. She didn't know her husband was wearing her clothes. She came home one night, and
you know what? Doing it, and that's what I would do. Doing it in
guy,
secret.
You would have never thought he would do that. Never.
No, right? Well, one day my best friend Tony showed up at my house, knocked on the door unexpectedly. Took off the day from work. I happened to be at home from work. I started running to get my makeup off, and I said to myself, "Who am I kidding? Who am I lying to?"
Yeah.
I opened the door. He was shocked, and then he was shocked when I asked him to take a walk with me to the mall. To really be out like that. And my brother-in-law, that happened. My wife's sister's husband. We used to play golf together. Tony, John, and I. John didn't know. He came also to my house unexpectedly. He was doing a delivery in the air. He's beeping horn. And he's running around the house looking, where's Fran? Because the car's here.
Right.
And meanwhile, I was scared hell. Because then I knew if he found out, then his wife found out, then my wife found out.
It's better off just
It's all of that kind of stuff. So my message for trans people is some of them relinquish that secrecy and they live in the moment of, let me go out and cross-dress and get my excitement that way.
Okay.
But there is hope on the other side. people are forgiving.
And
Just like
that's
you,
good. Well,
you
yeah.
are talking to me. You, no matter how much prejudice you have in your head
Right.
against what we might have.
I don't really. I just don't. I don't like. We're gonna get into. Robbie's got a couple questions.
Yeah.
I don't like that the forcing of I have to do this. I have to call you a certain thing. Yeah, I'm being respectful because
Absolutely.
that's what you're. But don't. Now there's a new gender, demon gender. Give me a fucking break. Excuse my language. But there's no other word. Give me a fucking break with demon gender. I got your demon gender here. Stop it. Stop it. You're fucking 17. You have no fucking clue about life. Go get a fucking job. Demon. I'll give you a fucking smack on the demon gender.
Yeah, I never
demon
heard that.
gender. Demon gender. Oh, you're cool because you're a demon. Get the fuck out of here.
A
please.
demon? I never heard
And
about
to
that.
me, that's a slap in your face because they're taking something that's real. This is a real thing.
Yeah, right.
You're real. You
right.
think you're a woman. Okay, well, and like I said, I don't mean
Let me
to
say, I got to say something. I'm not saying, and I think there's a lot of trans people. I'm not saying that life has to be where we accept everybody
Right.
for who they are.
No, you should accept it, but these
But
nonsense pronouns are ridiculous.
Right. The pronouns for people to get upset and stuff like that. The more important thing are to say the real rights, like not to fire people from a job because they end up being transgender.
We'll get into
and
that
stuff
too
like
about
that.
jobs.
You
It's
But-
Rachel Levine.
but-
We'll get into her soon.
Okay.
We're gonna get. We got questions too about Rachel
Okay.
Levine. Robbie's got
All right.
questions. Let me get Robbie. But one question
Right,
before
should
I
I-
ask Robbie.
Now
so wait,
I want to
you're-
look in this
Yeah,
camera
okay,
to
but
see
I got
Robbie
one more
and talk
question
to
before we
Robbie.
get Robbie.
Yes.
So being that you identify as a woman,
Right.
and your sexual preference is woman, you're considered a lesbian now, correct?
That's right. Right. I'm
So
a
you're-
lesbian trans
and if-
woman.
But from
you
a
know where I'm
biological
moving?
point, you're a straight male. From a
Yeah,
biological point.
From
All right,
biological, but I would like to say that I am also where in the beginning I used to say to people, "Oh, I didn't know you were trans." I used to say, "But I'm not gay," like it was a
Yeah,
it was
ooh,
wrong,
yeah,
like
yeah.
it was bad.
I don't want to be
But
fair.
now, right, whoa, I'm not gay.
I gotta watch my words.
God forbid I'm gay, right? But now, having lived that, in fact, even though my
Well, you
brother
can't-
was
you are
gay,
gay. You're a gay female.
I was homophobic.
And your brother's also.
My
your
brother
brother is
passed
a gay
away.
male.
My brother passed away.
How? Well, yeah.
He was HIV positive.
Oh,
Because
too
my
bad. My
brother
friend
was,
Anthony died of that also. I
yeah.
got a
It
picture of him,
took him
baby.
17 years to die.
Oh my God.
You know, so he
And-
actually died of liver failure because the AZT he took to deal with the HIV.
Thank you, Dr.
That-
Fauci.
That basically killed him, and because of his death, it was my younger brother. Because of his death, my parents both were so fearful.
That you
My
were gonna
being
die.
trans was the kind of transgender person who was a prostitute and all that.
Well-
and I was not going to be careful,
Well, a fact
and
for
I
that
was going
is
to die
we
too.
can't just stigmatize. I'm gonna defend the trans here. Years ago, this is a fact, and this is a fact because I lived in West Hollywood. There were a lot of transgender, a lot of gay people in West Hollywood. This when you're
Right.
in California, and Robbie, I'm sure Robbie knows this too. Back in the 70s and 80s, when the trans things started coming out, Renee Richards, remember all
Right,
that?
right.
Most women, they weren't just prostitutes. They became prostitutes because they couldn't afford to get the surgery.
Right, right.
And they would do that, and they didn't stay prostitutes. Some maybe stayed
Right,
it,
right.
but it was like being forced to do something to make this enormous amount of money.
Right.
Anyway, that being said,
Dog Day Afternoon.
Dog Day Afternoon. Oh, I
Yeah.
love Dog Day Afternoon.
Right.
Remember, what was it? Leon. Remember Leon?
Yeah.
That was John.
John Gazelle.
Cassavetes.
No. Sarandon.
Susan
Oh,
Sarandon?
yeah.
Leon was John Sarandon.
Oh, John Sarandon?
No, Susan Sarandon's husband.
Oh,
that
wow,
was Leon.
wow.
That was the boy.
Al Pacino and John Cazale was Fredo. He
Right,
played
right.
Sal. Sal.
Right.
One of my favorite. And now you're talking 75. Dog Day Afternoon.
Yeah.
Talking almost 50 years ago. That was in the movie, and people just let it blow over their
Right.
heads.
Well, even the movie like Some Like It Hot, where they weren't really trans.
Oh,
But Tony
Jack
Curtis
Lemmon and
looked
Tony
so.
Curtis.
Yeah, they was
Marilyn
like
Monroe.
so
Hey,
good.
what
Yeah.
about
Well,
Leon?
Tony Curtis. Listen,
Yeah,
one of
that's
the
what
best
I'm
looking
saying.
guys in
When
Hollywood.
people saw
but
that,
as
they
you would
thought-
say in Italian, a little finocchio, a little bit.
Yeah, right.
I think Tony Curtis, he swung from both sides of the plate.
So that's
opinion.
where what I started saying about myself is that when you said I'm, biologically a male and a straight male,
Yes.
I'm open to change.
I don't understand that. What do you? In other words,
you
might want to go with a guy now.
I'm not looking for.
Are you attracted? Are you attracted to a man? Be honest.
Physically,
a hairy ass. Come on, I wouldn't be attracted
physically,
to me.
no.
You're not good looking, but
physically, no.
Unless you shave my ass, I'm not going with me. I'm not.
If that person likes me and I like them, and we travel together and we have dinner together, and there may be a moment that we can have affection. I'm not saying.
You see, I've been with Robbie. I've been with Brian. We've traveled everywhere, and I'm sorry, guys. I'm never fucking kissing you.
This is what I'm getting at. So
you may be
compartmentalize life. You put these, and I did too.
But
Italian Americans are here. That's this kind of person.
You feel like
Men
a woman.
here.
When I'm around men, I have no affection. I have affection. Like I saw you, I gave you hugs. It's an Italian thing. You hug a tree? Yeah, because it doesn't fucking matter. But when it comes to physical affection, like making love, kissing, I can never see myself doing that.
I could never either. But what I'm saying,
have you dabbled, 10 years, have you tried? Can we ask you? No? Okay.
Well, actually, I was sharing this with Dennis. I was saying before, when he was shocked that I was going to spend Thanksgiving with my wife. We're soulmates now. Nice. We're not, romantic and stuff. Yeah. We just haven't gotten divorced because we still love each other.
Okay.
But not in a romantic way.
Like the movie with that English actor. Remember that movie? What was his name, the actor? Good movie about the transgenders. The English guy.
Oh, yeah, that Daniel's, not Daniel's wife or whatever it was.
Great movie.
The Danish wife.
Great movie, yeah.
The Danish Girl or something.
Okay, all right, so go ahead.
Yeah, that was a great movie. In fact, the book I have that I've written called Once a Boy is a combination of Bronx Tale, Tootsie, because there's some comedy in it,
go ahead,
and The Danish Girl.
Okay.
About their love that they had for each other. But what I'm getting at is that many years ago, when I used to drink, I don't drink anymore, when I would drink and get a little tipsy, I'd say to myself, who really am I? I love being a girl. I love putting on a short skirt, dancing. I like the attention that guys are giving me. So one night, one guy brings me to his apartment, right? And I said, well, this is it. I'm going to go for it. And I'm in. And I could not bring myself to it. So finally,
you're a straight male, friend.
I get out of bed.
You're a lesbian.
And I'm leaving. I put my heels on. I'm leaving. And he's going, where you going? No. And he's pulling me back into the bed.
Did
back
he know?
And forth. But yeah, he knew. It's, quite frankly, it's an attraction to many men.
Okay.
Trans is an attraction to many men.
All right, we got to bring Robbie in.
Yeah, all right.
All right, let's bring in the 70s, 60s, 70s, liberal leftover, hippie, Robert LaCar. Brian, I can't hear him too well. Hold on, Robbie. Check your level.
Hear me?
Go ahead. Fran, you.
Hi, Robbie.
I was just enjoying the conversation, actually.
All right, go ahead.
Yeah.
Rob.
So
nice
to meet you, Fran.
Rob,
yeah, nice to meet you.
You wouldn't look good in the dress, Rob.
I love your beret.
One time I did mescaline. I went to a Halloween party and I got dressed up as a nurse, and it was like, everybody was.
He sent the messages, Fran. He sent the messages.
Wasn't I don't have that. I don't have the look you do. Let's just put it like that. But.
Yeah, but I got mescaline.
Good to meet you, man. And I find this whole.
Thank you. Here are my legs, by the way.
Hey, Fran was showing us the legs.
Whoa, baby.
See the
you got
legs?
nice legs.
Hold on. Let's see, everybody. Fran's legs.
Holy shit. Hey.
There's a window behind her. We may have to call the fire department soon.
Fran, give Jimmy a lap dance.
Yeah.
I could do that.
You got singles, Brian? Go ahead. So go.
I'm sorry.
Go, Rob.
Yeah, so actually, I find this fascinating because I've never really. Actually, I did have one friend that was transgender where I used to do my wash in Hollywood, and every Sunday I would go do my wash, and she would be there, and she's a big, strong. I think she was Nicaraguan, and she would just talk and tell me all these stories, but she was more like gay. but she, you know,
Yes,
she didn't get
yes.
she didn't get snipped, and
Trans,
Snip.
it was
trans
pretty
people who
fascinating.
I
are
She
like the
got
snip
beat up
term. I
a
like that.
couple
She gets
times.
snipped.
Like one of her eyes was hanging down like this because she got punched, and it was, you
Oh.
know, it was kind of.
Well, by the
That's
way,
sad.
about, and I'm sorry, like, for these detours now
Okay.
and then, but when
That's
you
all I
say
do.
about trans people who are Hispanic
Ooh.
are often
We're getting into race. I like this, Captain.
are often, like when you mentioned Nicaraguan and stuff, and even Hispanics in this country, definitely Hispanics
Gay.
in South Africa, they view often quite negatively trans people. And when my daughter's boyfriend came to live with us, he's from Peru, he had a real problem with me in the beginning.
Except for the
So-
free rent.
All
right,
well, it wasn't
I'm
really
just saying,
free, but
I'm just
almost
saying.
free. But what it's really a cultural thing. So sometimes,
Well, Italians
It's-
don't really,
no, and Italians the same way.
except if you're
my
a
family,
designer.
forget
then it's
about
okay.
it. Forget when I was 10 years old, I put on a dress. I went out on the street at my grandmother's beach house.
You told me this. This is a good story.
And I put on this dress. It was my cousin Sally's dress. There were about 7 cousins that were, up in Rhode Island. This was in Misquamicut Beach, Rhode Island. And I never went outside other than on Halloween dressed as a girl. Because on Halloween you can get away with it. You can say it's Halloween. So I saw this suitcase and Sally, and it was left open. And I saw this cute little dress and heels, these low heels, and makeup and everything. So I pretended that I was sick. They took a long walk to town. When they left and were far enough away I could see, I put it on and I went outside in the bright sunshine, in the daylight, and it was the most unbelievable feeling of my life. Part of it was that I was living out a dream.
Right.
And then the other part was the actual physical feeling of being correct in myself, right. That when people saw me, because I was 10, 11 years old, I may have looked like 13 with the heels and the makeup
Right.
and everything. But I definitely passed as a girl. And it was probably the most significant day in my life. And then I realized that they were all coming back from this long trip, and then they were going to see. I would have to go back into the house. They would see me. My father was a very macho guy. Meanwhile, my brother had not.
Italy or born here?
He
Father
was
was born in Italy?
Yeah,
or
he was
here?
born here. My 4 grandparents were born in Calabria, so there was that element of
Yeah.
being really Italian in the house, and also Calabrese are known for being a little thick-headed and stuff.
Garbados, yeah.
Garbados. So
Hard-headed.
they wouldn't what trans? There was no word for trans. I would have been. My father, I felt, would have actually maybe not deliberately killed me, but killed me while he was beating the hell out of me. If he saw me. So I took my shoes off and I ran to beat them back to the house. I got to the house before they did.
That's a typical girl move.
By
Take
second-
off your shoes to run.
Yeah,
Men don't do that
I
shit.
pulled up my skirt so I could
Yeah.
run better, and I got into the house. I opened the door in the bedroom. I closed the door after I jumped. After I went in, I jumped into the bed. I pulled the sheet and stuff over my head, and when they came in, they said, "Oh, he Frankie, my name at the time. He must be really sick. He's under. They didn't open the door yet. He's still inside. We see his sneakers here." So I started praying. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed are you from the line of Jesus, Holy Mary, Mother of God, purposes and now and the hour of men. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed are you from the line of Jesus. The way I used to pray for everything.
Right.
Very quick. And
I still pray like that, but okay.
you still pray like that, right?
Well, I just started
It's,
again 2 years
you-
ago. I lost religion. I always have faith. Okay.
It's
another story.
It
another
works.
show. Yeah.
It always worked. I was always in trouble. I would always pray, and then 2 days later, I got out of the trouble somehow. I don't know
Right.
how. But anyway, so I prayed. Thank God. My cousin Joanne said to Sally, "Well, I'll go see him." And then Sally said, "Let him stay. He must be really sick to be in the bed. He's never like that." So then they left and they went to the beach, and then I laid there in the bed, and I actually started crying because I realized that I came that close to being found out, and that was part of it. The other part of it was that I actually got through it. It was the riskiest thing I did in my life up until that point, and I got away with it. And so that
How old were you, Fran, when you did that?
I just turned 11.
That was one of my questions. Do you think that we should be like when in school now they're starting to teach kids about transgender, and if they feel as though they have issues with their gender and they're thinking about they're really a girl or all this stuff that's coming out that's quite controversial. How do you feel about that?
It's very complicated. And the way I feel about it really depends on the people I know. So, for example, I know a 12-year-old girl named Rebecca. I won't use her last name, but she's probably the most popular, well-known trans girl in the world at this point.
So she's a boy biologically.
She's boy biologically, but God, when you look at her, all you see is a girl. And her mother, and I've spoken at conferences and stuff with her mother, and her mother and father are quite supportive, and her father is a minister too. This is the girl. But she lived very unhappily for many, many years, was very withdrawn and stuff. When they gave her permission to start wearing a dress to school and to grow her hair and to start referring to her as Rebecca instead of her male name, she blossomed. And her mother says to me, instead of like being behind her, holding on to her apron strings, she was out there dancing and singing, and she just became herself. So in certain cases, it's hard to pin it down. Probably not in my case, because I was so mainstreamed into being a boy that probably if what happened then when I was 11 turned out that I was caught and I was, it was a different time, and let be a girl, then what would have happened is I wouldn't have had all of those wonderful years as a father, as a son, as a man. So I feel blessed because now I really have two lives. I've lived that life, not that I've thrown it away, but I'm really exploring how it is to be a woman. So my answer to you, Robbie, for children, it's a very complicated, and I would not undo things. Some of the problems they face is that if they don't start hormone blockers young, like this was Rebecca's issue, they wanted to start the blockers that block the testosterone, because the testosterone makes them become a boy and also makes them feel like a boy, also makes them have hard-ons and all that stuff. And it becomes maybe even more complicated, as it was for me growing up. I would walk down the street and I would see a girl on the other side of the street when I was young, a teenager. I would get erect, and at the same time, I would wish that I had that dress on. You know what I mean? Like I was conflicted.
Okay.
So sometimes, the answer
I just get erect. I never had the dress thing, but I hear you.
So I would say my advice to most parents and people is to try not to do things that are not reversible. For example, bottom surgery probably shouldn't be entertained until they're in their 30s, I would think.
But you just said try to things that aren't reversible. Now, I totally misunderstood you when you said if you don't start hormone therapy, because this is where I'm going to elaborate on your thing, like, and it's you're talking on an individual basis, like you're talking to Rebecca's parents, but you're saying don't push. So now hormone therapy is not reversible. Not reversible.
Yes, it is.
What?
Yes, it is.
Hormone therapy is reversible.
Yeah.
If you take an 8-year-old, 10-year-old girl that wants to be a guy, and you start whacking her out with hormones, and she's getting all, that's reversible.
Well,
because I got a brother that's a pharmacist, and I got a niece that's an insurance doctor.
Well, you just used the key word. You say whacked her out with. So instead of giving her the full boat, the full load of hormones that prevent, that shut down her maleness completely, maybe that's not the thing to do. Maybe it's to give a modest dose.
Okay, now.
And that's more reversible because then.
Okay, so a modest dose could be. Here's my problem. This is my people. This I'm going to give my opinion now.
Maybe not allow her to dress all the time at a certain time, and show her to grandma and the cousins and the school, and that's almost becomes reversible. Maybe let her feel. Maybe take her on vacation for a long vacation and have her spend time being a little girl on vacation for 4 or 5 days or 2 or 3 weeks, and maybe that's a way to introduce her to her. Because often what happens is that children are fickle.
But what about taking them on a vacation to let them just be a boy then, and say, look, this is in your mind? Because basically, let's be honest here. And people, this is common ground. I'm not attacking Fran any way at all. I love Fran.
No, I know.
We've become friends. But I'm going now from a fatherly point of view. Here's my problem with the whole situation. Rachel Levine, everyone, she's Biden's pick for health.
Yes.
Health something. I mean, we're going to get into that too, because in my opinion, not that she's not qualified, I feel she just got the job because I got to put a tranny in the office. I don't. And the same thing with Kamala Harris. I'm not saying they're bad, they're not qualified, but Kamala Harris, she got 1% of the vote. They threw her in because she was a black woman. And this is my problem with doing another show on equity instead of equality. But here's the thing with the
Kamala Harris has got a lot of credibility.
What?
She was in politics in
No,
California.
but what I'm saying, Rob, she got 1%.
Yeah.
She got 1% out of the 17 people. She called Biden a misogynist and a racist, and he puts her in. That's just bullshit. But that's another show. He did that under
point,
pressure.
the reason you're bringing this up is that your point is that too often people are trying to be politically correct.
Yes.
And they're making changes.
But I want to get on the medical thing. We're just saying the medical thing. As a father, even though I've never had kids, I got, I was too much of a playboy. I have nieces and nephews. They don't like my kids. Now, here's the problem I see with it. Rachel Levine said, she was on Congress, and they said, what age do you think it's okay to start giving hormone blockers and changing a child? And she says, well, thank you for, they always say thank you for the question because they want to kill their time. Right. Thank you for the question, but we can have that conversation in private. No, we want to hear the conversation now. You're the health director. Right. I want to hear, I'm the parent of a kid that thinks she's the other. She wouldn't give it to her. And then she says, okay, he said, well, you said 8 years old. She goes, let me get back to you on that, and tomorrow I'll come up with a number. She came back from 8, and I think went down to 3 or 5. So now you're saying, so in other words, she stuck it to him.
It's very difficult. You can't predict. I can only go really from my own case and people I know. If I
Do you know anybody that regretted it later on?
Did I what?
Do you know any other trans people who went like you? Maybe didn't chop it, and then said, "I wish I was back, man."
Yes, I do.
You do know.
How
do you justify
I've met
that?
few, very few, but I have a film called "Happy Trans Girl Like Me," because I am much happier. People see myself on Facebook. It's under Fran Sisco, spelled Sisco. They always see me taking.
That's your real last name.
That's my real last name.
Listen, you were fucking destined to be trans. Because first of all, your name's Fran. Your last name's Cisco.
Yeah.
San Francisco. I'm just saying.
And on my business card, it says Trans Francisco.
Yeah, that's great.
Right?
I think that's
Trans
Francisco. I love it.
So I think I was meant to be, but not because it's a beautiful thing to wear a dress. Not because it's better to be seen as a woman. Not those reasons. It's because for me as an individual, I'm leading a much more fully expressed, authentic, in my opinion, authentic. It's ironic because I'm not really living as a man, authentic, but I'm living a more authentic life, and probably I wouldn't have been equipped to do it unless I waited until now to do it, because now I really appreciate.
Do you ever dress up? Do you ever come out as a man? Do you ever go back?
No, in fact, when I do some wood sculptures outside and I paint them, I use limbs from trees and I repurpose them and make these sculptures, and it's right outside, and I'm on a busy road in New Rochelle. When I do that, I put on it's easy to put on jeans, right? It makes more sense. Put on old paint clothes. Yeah. I still put a dress on. It's like an old ratty dress and stuff, but I feel better dressed as female. I don't cut my hair. This is my real hair. This is a piece on top that I use because my hair is thin on top.
Right. Okay.
But I'm
Like a John Travolta.
always, so if you knocked on my door and came, in the morning, I look female. I feel like it's, because when I look in the mirror, it triggers something that I feel better about myself as a female. So does that answer what you were saying?
All right, but let's get back
There
to...
are many people, though, that do the cross-dressing for their entire life, and I probably would have continued that way. But you know what, Robbie? When I was doing that, I was taking undue risks. I was out partying all the time. I was drinking, smoking some weed, stuff like that. I was taking these risks.
Tutskarutsky, once in a while. That was big. I like it.
Yeah, that was it.
Robbie loves that word, Tutskarutsky.
What?
Tutskarutsky. That's one of Robbie's favorite words. But go ahead.
So, yeah, we Tutskarutsky, right? So, I would take these risks. So now I because I was in denial, and there are a lot of people like this that are not living their true self. There are also gay people that are living more secretly gay, or there may be bi people, or there are people who would rather be an engineer and they're a painter, or they're a painter and they should be an engineer. People are not themselves, is what I'm getting at, and sometimes there's an easy fix. In my case, it was an easy fix. Start living as a female. That was the fix.
Okay.
And it worked for me.
That works for you. But now
But it won't work for everybody.
Let's get back to the children problem.
Yeah.
But this is a problem. I don't care if people say, you can hate me for it, this is a problem. I got a kid. I got an 8-year-old kid comes to me. Daddy, I want to be a girl. It's my kid. I say, listen, first of all, at that age, like Robbie wanted to be a fucking astronaut, right? I wanted to be an astronaut. Robbie's got 2 left feet. He'd fall off the moon. So Robbie's no good for an astronaut. But what I'm saying is, at that age, even health class, we didn't get health class till the first year of high school. We weren't taught about sex, although Sal Carolla taught us about sex in the 5th grade when we were 11 years old. He told us what sex was. But when you're a child and getting to the mental and the physical, you yourself said your mind is telling you that. But if you saw a girl, your physical self gets erect because you saw. But if you saw a boy, you didn't get erect. So here's a conflict here.
Yeah, there's a
with
conflict
your mind
because
and your physicalness.
There's a conflict because you still, I'm sorry, but you still think in terms of sexuality being embedded with gender. It's not. They're 2 separate things.
See, though,
so
that's
just
right.
because
for
someone
you,
is
they're 2 separate things. But for guys like us, it's not.
The way you perceive it not to be. But if you're talking about somebody who is transgender, sexuality, and including young children.
What about bisexual? Guys that like sex with both people.
What about them?
Okay, so here's what I'm trying to. Here's what I'm talking about the mind.
In other words, you're using.
If the guy wants to, let's keep sex separate. If a guy likes to have sex with men and women, but there's got to be all kinds that want to have sex with men and women, but on an emotional level,
it almost has. And it's going to sound crass, but it almost has nothing to do with sex. It's as if you said, I like to collect baseball cards. Oh, you like to collect... Oh, so you're this kind of trans person. Oh, no, I don't like to collect baseball cards. Oh, you're that kind of trans...
No, but
the 2 almost
but are
don't...
you damaging a kid by not letting them... Like you say,
Yeah.
I feel...
No,
I
you
feel
know
that,
what you're doing? You're damaging a kid by not
an
getting to the
8-year-old
underlying
isn't even
reason.
Sexual.
There you go. I agree with
The
that.
underlying reason.
I don't believe it has any... From what I'm hearing, Fran, it isn't sexual.
It isn't sexual
You just
at
feel
all.
better being feminine.
All right, I'm gonna mention a couple of things about myself. But from all these conferences I used to go, and I used to sometimes be a speaker, and I researched this. Believe me, this has bothered me my whole life. You know, this thing. I live with this almost every day of my life, so I studied it as well as experienced it. Part of my being transgender, and you'll probably get some letters or comments about this, has to do with the fact that my grandfather died when I was 10 years old. What does that have to do with it, right?
Yeah.
It does have to do with it. Because of the trans females that I know that are in this, say, 50 plus category, those trans females have, at least 40% of them, of that I know, experienced the death of a significant male member between the ages of 8 and 12. That's a huge percentage. And we don't know why
I don't
that
see the
is.
correlation, though.
Well, you may not. One of the reasons is that because the male member died, my grandfather, who lived with my grandmother on the first floor, and in a typical, say, Italian household, there was my family lived on the third floor, my father's brother and their family lived on the second floor, and there were 8 houses on a street, very much like your street you are in, but they were identical, 10 feet apart from each other, and that was that same makeup. When the grandfather dies, who takes over? The women end up. My father didn't take over. My father didn't become the patriarch. It was my grandmother became the matriarch. So my association with people was much more attuned to women. And the women end up being the sensitive ones, the relationship ones, the ones you could talk to. The men were really not. I mean, I love my father. Don't get me wrong, my grandfather and
I didn't
stuff.
say it, Father. So did
But-
he. You're not telling us something. Right, Rob?
But they're the ones that said, hey, snap out of it. You know, if I ever went to my... Whereas my grandmother, when I went to her, you know, when I was 10 years old, and I said, Nani, I don't know why, but when I was on Halloween, I don't want to take it off, the nurse's outfit. She talked to me. She really connected with me.
Right.
And my mother did, although my mother advised me, stop it, don't do it, but in a loving way, whereas the men... So my identification, I think this is similar for gay men also. The identification is more with females, and in an admiring way, in a wanting to almost be. So when I was married, I loved my wife, and I loved her so much.
Were you attracted to her physically?
Very much. She and I were rabbits, you know. However,
I'm confused. Okay.
I got to love her so much and who she was that I wanted to be her. You got this?
Okay.
Is that when you love a person, it's not just owning them or having them or being partners with them. It's if you love what they do and who they are, you want to take on those aspects of them, identify with them. And so what I'm getting at is when
did
you're
she love
talking
you
to
in the same
children,
way?
no. When you,
Okay.
because she loved me as a man, she met me as a man, and that's the
No,
way
I'm
she
saying,
liked it.
but did she love you in the same way? Because from what you're saying, then wouldn't she want to be a man?
No, she didn't like being. She wouldn't want to
you
be a
understand
man
my
at all.
point?
Yes,
If you're
of course I
saying
do.
You're so because you're enamored by the female, but what if a female's enamored by the... So how does...
Yeah, and that's what I think.
So this
that's
is
what
mostly
happens.
psychological. then, isn't it?
Females get enamored
Right.
by who? So many of the trans men that you may meet, or
Trans
the
man means it's a biological woman that wants to be a man. Okay. I'm just
and
learning.
grows a, some grow a beard, have a mastectomy, the whole bit, some even an artificial penis and stuff like that. But often what happens with young people now, they don't take those, because they also get influenced by their parents and seeing that people sometimes regret it sometimes, so they go to middle ground. So now the big thing is gender non-conforming. It's people who you don't really know. Are they a boy or are they a girl?
Saturday Night Live did. Chris, remember Chris and Pat?
Yeah, right.
Saturday Night Live, that was funny. It was funny. Yeah.
Right. And like years ago, like David Bowie, was he a guy or a girl? So this is, you asked about children. Really when you get into it, it's much more complicated. And it's how are they influenced. Another influence on me was, this may sound too, it's not complicated really, people are either left brain oriented, which is like analytical, engineer, doctor,
Right.
accountant, stuff like that, or right brained oriented, artist, comedian, whatever, writer, things like that, and obviously some professions fall more toward one than the other. But the women in my life, my mother and stuff, they were more right brain oriented. Okay. My grandmother, my aunts, and right brain is also relationship sensitive and stuff like that. And left brain is more analytical and right and wrong, black and white, compartmentalizing and stuff. So I identified more with the women in my life, just happened to be more right brain.
Okay.
If I was born, if Leonardo da Vinci was my father, I probably would have never have been trans because I would have identified with him, because I was right brain. I was artistic.
Right.
But the men in my life, to live as a boy, I had to be left brain. I had to be analytical. I couldn't be sensitive. I couldn't cry when I watched the movie. You get what I'm saying? So this is as much of an influence on people, including young people, is to really explore this question about being male and female. And what is it that the child is trying to achieve by identifying in the particular
Okay, but
gender?
Tell me if I'm correct on the stats. Give me the stats. What are the stats of the population that's actually trans?
I don't think it's really known. It's said to be like
1 to 2%.
Yeah, 1 to 2%.
Let's say it's 10%.
Right.
10%. Let's jump it up. 10%. 90% aren't, right?
Yeah. Right.
It's just math. So now, once again, children. What you just said is everything. Influence. Influence can take a child's mind and turn it.
You're important. I hear you, but I'm just
So now,
sort of
that's
modifying
okay,
what you're saying.
But to give a kid drugs prior to puberty, I feel that's child abuse. I'm sorry. I think that's child. Let the kid listen. You knew at 10, and look, you're fine. You never did bottom, but you're okay. And I'm going to get a little bit deeper here because let's take it from childhood all the way to growth, all the way to where you are, over 45. So we're going to go with that. All right. So. You guys see, there's always a little comedy in there. So here you are, you have a child. The child doesn't know, but they're very heavily influenced. But now, like you said, now they become 13. Oh, Melissa got big tits. Boom, bang, there it goes. All right, now wait, but I like your dress, but I like those tits. And now they got to decide. I feel let them go through puberty.
See,
let them decide.
You're still imposing that sexuality thing.
Oh, so let's leave
which was my problem because I would get.
We'll take the sex, but once again, biology's there for a reason. The whole thing is reproduction. But that doesn't mean that you're wrong in what you're doing. I'm talking about just children. I think.
How about if I say this? Jimmy, I understand what you're saying. Perceiving people, it's going to sound wild.
Go ahead.
Perceiving people as a certain gender is wrong.
What?
Male, and because when I say that you're male, I'm imposing my own, even me as a trans person, as what I said before, men are not as feeling as women. Men are more left brain, and these are all concoctions. We should deal with people being human first. So when we look at that child,
there are genders.
But there are now.
There are two.
Guess
I'm
what?
not arguing. I'm not trying
Guess
not
what?
be
It's
offended.
changing.
There are two genders.
Two genders
there's
now.
There's a male and there's a female.
200
what I'm
years
saying
from
is-
now, there's going to be not two genders. There's going to be 4 genders or something like that.
That's in my opinion, that's just plain ridiculous. Because when
Why?
you were born, did you ever have a cat or a dog?
Did I ever what?
You grew up in a tiny family. You didn't have a dog?
Yeah, I had a dog.
You got one now?
No.
But you had a dog?
Yeah.
What was it, a male or female?
Female.
How do you know?
Nisa.
How do you know?
Lisa.
What if you don't think Lisa? What if you're just going biology?
Right.
You know it was a female because had a vagina, didn't have a penis.
Right. Right.
What's the difference?
What's the difference in the dog?
What's the difference from a dog, an ape, a hippo, and us? There's two genders. This is biology. Like you said, don't bring sex into it. I'm not bringing sex into it. This is biology.
So you're saying a dog, people don't really care if it's a male or a female.
No.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, so,
Is that we shouldn't care if it's a male or female.
But that doesn't cancel out that there's, you say, well, that means that there's 4 genders. No, there's not. I mean, you could say it, and I'll respect you and say, that's what you believe, Fran, good. That's
no,
fine.
but I'm not going to say that
genders,
your
babe.
implication is
See, I just called you babe. Before, on the phone, I called you buddy, because, you see,
I know.
And people, this is where I feel people need to start. Listen, I got friends that are going to attack me because, it's trans on your show. What the fuck is wrong with you? That's going to happen, and you know that because you know the neighborhood I grew up in.
Should we arm wrestle? So
I might lose. I might lose.
So we can prove that.
I don't want to get beat by a girl. All right. To get thrown like a girl. That's all. I love that. I love that thing. Okay, so.
See if Robbie is.
All right, so Robbie, I know has another question, but I just want to get into this more. I want to go. We're going to get a couple more questions. I want to go back in on another show with you about how many genders there are and what. And my thing, like I said, with children, we got to keep. We'll come back on another show and do that. Because my thing is, I think children should. Look, like I got my gay friends. They knew they were gay. I knew they were gay when they were fucking 5. Okay, we knew, but they're still whatever gender. Rob, you had a question about sports. Like I said, we're not done with the children content.
Right.
We're going to come back to another show with
So,
children and gender.
You guys were in such a deep conversation. I was just letting you guys just run.
We're very deep. We're very deep.
Great. I'm really learning a lot, Fran.
So am I.
No, I'm not. I'm learning too because I'm learning how people really think.
That's what I want to get out there.
And I love this. I love the idea of the show, and I love your conversations.
I'm not trying to be mad. I want to understand you.
No, I know.
And I want you to understand me. And I want you to understand Rob. And Rob makes more sense to me. Go ahead.
Well, I don't know about that.
No,
but
you make a lot of sense.
Here's the other question I have for you, Fran.
Yes.
So now when a transgender, should they be able to play like in sports? Female sports,
I'm glad
male
you asked
sports. How does that work? Because
you have a friend that plays softball and hockey.
By the way, just some people who may be watching, they get offended by using the word transgender as a noun. Like, so you don't usually say a transgender. It's an adjective.
You say the transgender?
No.
What would
the fucking word? Everybody, the fucking word police.
I mean, as an adjective, like transgender.
Hey, Fran, I don't want to offend anybody, so this is another
So what do you
thing
call
I'm
it?
really
Wait, so what do you
confused
call?
No.
What do we call it?
How do we? What's the correct? What do we
Okay.
call people? I don't know exactly how that works. So I don't mean to offend.
All right,
anybody.
I'm saying this more for your benefit than for my benefit.
I need to know for future shows. I don't want to
Right,
get beat up.
you don't want to say a transgender. You want to say a transgender individual or a transgender person. Or
Gotcha.
It's an adjective, a word that describes
Transgender
noun.
individual.
Okay.
So anyway, just because sometimes what happens is that people shut down. They hear a person say, he's or she is a transgender. That person hearing that, sometimes they don't hear anything else because they hear, just as I, in fact, really interrupted you by saying that, which was discourteous, but I didn't want for you to lose the listeners because I knew what you're about to say is very important.
And
So
it
anyway.
bothers them that much?
Yeah, but
That's a cupcake generation.
Mark
It seems to
Ruffalo,
be a big issue.
Oh,
Better
Mark
respect it.
Ruffalo,
yes,
right?
Yes.
Mark,
Loved him as an actor.
He's a phenomenal actor.
I don't agree with his
Maybe you don't
communist
agree
Marxist
with
views,
a lot
though.
of his political stuff.
Mark, I love you. I love you to come on the show and talk about politics.
Yeah, we
Mark.
got.
And I'll bring Fran on. Mark, come on, Mark.
Fran
Come on
and
the show.
I'll
Mark.
show you some stuff with Mark. Mark had a film called Anything, right? And it was a film about a man whose wife died, a guy in his 50s, and he was heartbroken. And his sister, who you would recognize the actress, I forgot her name, and you would recognize this actor. It was a big film. It was going to be a big film. Felt bad for him. She tried to help him out. There's nothing he could do. He missed his wife. He ends up moving to West Hollywood. And where he rents, next door to him, is a trans woman. And he ends up falling in love with this trans woman. He had no clue that he would do that.
The crying game.
Yeah, it's like the crunch.
It's just a piece of meat. Go ahead.
Anyway, so he falls in love, and it was a very, very excellent movie. It's called Anything. I don't know if it's on, Netflix or something, Amazon or whatever. But what happened is the trans community went up in arms about it. Instead of being happy that there was a character that was trans in a very sympathetic role, the trans community went crazy because Mark and his producers used a gay man to play the trans woman. Didn't offend me.
They're actors.
Right. Didn't offend me. But some people get way out of joint about that.
Cesar Romero played the biggest stud on TV. He was sleeping with Tyrone Power. Give me a fucking break.
Right. I know.
That's
This is
what
what I'm
Hollywood-
saying.
They
is
should
that
understand this
people
bullshit.
take this stuff too far.
sensitive.
And where we need to take it more is not the head, not our logic and all of that. It's more from the heart. If we know that it's a child that's suffering, or an adult that's not living fully, let's have some more compassion and stuff. And we'll find a common, like your show is. We'll find a common ground.
I want to talk about that little girl on another show with you, I Am Jazz. What a pretty little girl.
Yeah, right.
And now
Same
she's
way.
going through trauma. She gained 100 pounds because now she don't know if she should have did it or not.
Exactly.
So I'd like to
Let's go
another
back
show.
to that.
Get
But
to
let's get Robbie's
But
Let's get
I
on
wanna-
about the
let's-
about
let's
the
get-
sports.
let's-
About
Jimmy,
the sports.
Jimmy, let's get back to the issue of sports.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So,
Ivor
a
becomes
transgender
Ivana,
individual.
and he wins the bench
Maybe-
pressing competition. Come on.
Who was? Yeah. How do you feel about that? I mean, should transgendered individuals who are male play female sports as female sports teams?
I know where my thinking is going on this. Is my answer is yes, but it can't be. It has to be just like drugs are controlled or supposed to be controlled. Like what do you call it? What do you call the drugs that are
Steroids.
steroids? Just like this has to be a control over steroids, there needs to be some control over that. So how does someone identify? Now, right now, many insurance companies, for example, even life insurance companies, where it's cheaper to get life insurance if you're a woman than as a man, some life insurance companies have gone so far to say, if you're biologically a man, you still got a penis, you still have all the body parts of a man, but you identify as a woman, we're going to give you the female rates, the lower rates.
I think that's ridiculous.
Ridiculous, right?
Fucking ridiculous. Sorry.
There are these, but that's how strong some people feel about this matter of identification.
Well, like you said,
so if a woman
you get the
lives,
butt.
and when I
What's
say
the
a
butt
woman,
about?
if a person lives as a female, and she's living as a female, maybe she's living as, if she's just living as a female to screw the system so she could win an Olympic gold medal, and she's going to go back to being a male, then that's not right. If she's trying to game the system that way. But otherwise, if they're really a female, they identify as a female, they're living as a female, they're not taking steroids and not, abusing stuff like that, then why not let them?
Why not? I got the easy.
Let me ask you.
Fine.
Then let me ask you this question: when you were male, you were athletic, you boxed, you played sports.
Yeah.
Probably would dominate, a female team, if you played, if you were a boxer and you were boxing females, I think you would have an advantage.
Not think.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just saying, I'm
possibly, but there are a lot of women who are very powerful, very amazing. A couple of years ago, I went back to the gym, and I'm thinking, well, I need to get more fit. This is pre-COVID. I go back to the gym. There are 25 women in this gym class, in this fitness class. And I'm thinking, oh, no problem. I'm going to do I'm going to follow everything, even though I haven't been in a fitness class like that in a couple of years at that time. So I go in, and they start doing this stuff, aerobics and, the dancing and stuff. And I couldn't follow along.
But
I was the
that's
only male trans person in the class. I felt
you're
that,
talking about aerobics. We're talking about competitive sports. And aerobics. That's what my ex-fiance was an aerobic instructor, a lunatic. I couldn't do what she did. But when I became a fireman, she couldn't get on a fucking truck, jump off, put 130 pounds of gear on, get in, smash the fucking door down, carry Brian's monkey ass out.
yeah, but that's not a sport. Doing that stuff is not a sport.
It's not a sport.
We're talking about
That's
swimming.
biology. You're not talking about swimming. We're talking about powerlifting. There's a powerlifting guy now. He's kicking the shit out of everybody. He's in the fucking Olympics. And I'm not mad at you, baby. I'm just talking. This is where I get excited. This guy is beating the shit out of women. Bench pressing. He was ranked 135th in the men's competition. Now he's number one. You got two kids, two trans girls supposedly. They were guys up at the junior high school.
But he's a male.
He's in Connecticut. He's a male. Then all of a sudden, senior year, they want to be girls. They were ranked 35th, 36th in Connecticut. They just stole all the scholarships from the young girls who worked their whole life to get a scholarship. And they sued, and the girls lost. You can see these guys, as they're running, they got three legs. One's going this way, and I'm saying, I wish I had something like that. And so they're dominating the sports arena, and they're taking over. So it's not just swimming and aerobics. And I put Mark Spitz up against some of the best women, even though he does pain relief commercials now, because a lot of pain Mark Spitz. But my point is, here's where when I was talking, Rob, it all goes back to biology, correct? A man, the upper body strength, it's biologically, listen, you were a boxer. Any girl you went to high school with, except I know the couple of girls I went to school with, they were a little tough. But 90% of them you kick the shit out of. It's just like Ronda Rousey. Ronda Rousey, I wouldn't want to fuck with Ronda Rousey, but just the fact, Ronda, please don't beat me up. But I have a hard time, and I've seen Ronda fight. If I fought Ronda, I think my mental craziness says I could beat her just because she's a woman. She'd probably kick my ass. But let's get to Ronda sport. The MMA. Some guy came in. He broke the girl. What's her name, Brian? He broke her face. This girl will never fight again. He destroyed the whole fucking structure of her face.
Wasn't here.
He was a man.
That was in Europe.
It doesn't matter where it was.
He
beat the living piss out of her. He had no fucking right. Meanwhile, if he would have went into the ring with a male MMA, he would have got his fucking ass kicked.
Right.
That's what. And now people,
yeah.
Look, he's getting all emotional. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but I'm not. But there's no phobia here. I'm talking about fucking biology. Rob, what do you think? You think I'm wrong or right on that?
Well, I think that men are stronger than women overall, generally speaking.
That's a fact. It's not even.
And
like
I just don't know if
there
may be that there's definitely an edge. I think in some sports.
It's showing up in all
like
sports.
Like I said, if you got the strength, you got muscle tone. It's a tough call, and that's why I asked you. I'm not sure how I feel about it.
What do you do about say somebody who has better eyesight, and say it's a rifle shooting contest, and stuff.
Okay.
What if somebody has better eyesight, or maybe not say a person, but let's say a category of people? Like, what do we say about the Kenyans who are better runners, long-distance runners? Do we say
that's easy. Did you ever wake up 7 o'clock in the morning in the Serengeti, look over, there's 2 miles of desert, and a fucking lion's behind you? That's why they're faster. They gotta move.
Yeah, you see, but you see what I'm saying, though.
But it's a
we start
biological
saying, you know what? It's unfair to Kenyans. Well, we gotta exclude them or change it. Or
that's
something.
a good point, but it's not. The Kenyans
I don't know what the answer is. That's why I'm kind of asking.
Yeah,
I'm learning here.
To me, I know the answer. I'm sorry. It's just a biological. Like, you want to bring it. The Kenyans
but
is a
when
good
you
example. It's a great example of the Kenyans. Because I've said that for years. You're not going to beat the fucking Kenyans. But it doesn't. So you know what? Then you're a man. You're in the. There's also
what about people that are born 6 feet 8 playing basketball? Should they not be allowed in the draft? Basketball players, they're high, they're tall. Should they not be allowed because it's unfair to shorter people?
Because it's a men's sport. So then how come you don't see anybody dominating in basketball? How come there's no females that want to be a man in the NBA? But now, let's say my buddy, what's his name, LeBron James, Mr. fucking Personality. LeBron, I still love you. Come on the show. I talk to anybody. LeBron, we have differences, but I talk to you, LeBron. And we'll talk a little bit about China too.
By the way, I don't know if
but
you
now
noticed, LeBron is
let's
a
get
cross-dresser.
Let's take that beautiful blue chiffon dress, whatever you got on there, and let's put it on fucking LeBron. Throw him a basketball and put him in the WNBA. 2,000 points a game. It's a biology thing, Fran. The guy from Kenya, yes, because of country conditions, but it's still biology. Guys come close, and the Kenyan doesn't win all. They almost win every time. But once again, if you got a lion behind you, just give the guy the fucking prize.
Well, these are all good,
biological.
and these are good. No solution is going to be 100%. So maybe it isn't fair, and maybe we have to change that and not allow trans people to do in certain
Why not
performance.
Why not
possibly
then create 3 fucking bathrooms? Create 3.
Well, the bathrooms, I don't even understand.
Well, we got to do that. Braco, I'd love to get you on the show, Braco. But Rob will tell you, our friend Braco is a little passionate. And, okay, we're going to have to cut this. But once again, like I said, we're going to get into another show. Fran's going to come back. Rob's going to come back. We're going to tap on the children thing and when to start giving the drugs. And I want to tap on the sports thing again, too. Because like you said, let's break it down to bathrooms. Because I think, all right, you're male, you're female. There's whatever the fuck you want to be in the middle. Same thing with sports.
Why not
if you want
a bathroom
sports,
that allows all people in?
That's what I said. Whatever the fuck you want to be.
Yeah.
No matter. If you want
one
to be,
bathroom.
And if you
You
want to
don't
be,
need 3.
if you want to be, one bathroom,
Yeah.
fine. But
Right.
you have to have separate stalls. I'm sorry.
Why?
Why? Because if I got a 7-year-old daughter, and no offense,
Yeah.
I don't want a trans guy coming next to my daughter whipping out a roll of fucking toilet paper. No, I don't. That's my opinion. But
it would be all right if a
comfortable with
woman whipped out.
No, not at all.
Well, of course you have stalls.
In a female bathroom, you have stalls. In a men's bathroom, you got,
Right. So
You-
maybe
you
we
got the-
do
you got the
away
Johnson
with
things.
do away with the urinals and just have stalls.
Right. Okay.
Right.
It's
So
stalls.
maybe
But
with sports, you
like
do
I said,
away
you need
with the,
individual bathrooms. We'll get into that in another show. Everybody, common ground with Jimmy P, my new friend and my good guest. She's great. I love her. Sound good fan, huh?
Oh, yeah,
You
we
see
go.
that?
All right.
See? Oh my God! Yeah. All my friends are gonna have fucking heart failure. Too bad.
By the way, Jimmy P, in order to have the next conversation for the next show, we're going to shave your
You want me to
beard.
shave? You want me to shave?
You're going to shave the beard,
I'll
and
go-
we're going to
no,
put
no.
on a little chiffon dress.
A little
right.
chiffon dress.
Ah,
Baby,
now we're-
you're
that I
and-
want to see.
and
You're
now
gonna
we
need
gotta-
you're gonna need more
we're
than a
gonna
little
do
chiffon
that.
dress.
We're
Yeah,
I know
gonna-
people.
Get him some
I
maternity.
said
You need
months ago.
You need some
I was gonna
maternity
lose-
clothes.
What?
You gotta get him some
Gordo,
maternity
Gordo.
clothes.
Oh, we'll tell you the Gordo story.
Gordo,
That's it.
Gordo, yes. That's a
I'm
good
sorry,
story.
what did you say, Robbie? We got to get him
I said, if you're gonna dress Jimmy up, you should get him some maternity clothes.
Now listen.
That's funny.
4 months ago, I said I was going to lose 30 pounds. I put that in the show. I gained 30, so I got to lose 60. But that's neither here nor there. Everybody, common ground with Jimmy P. As you see, we got the little blessing, but I think people are going to find out. That's from my mother.
Can
So
I give
God
my
bless.
Can I give my website in
Yeah,
case
hold on.
anyone wants to get in
Take
touch
the
with me?
website, talk about your
Webs-
comedy thing and everything. Fran's going to give a little promotion. Go ahead.
Yeah, a little promotion, right? Because we all have to make money. And,
Yeah.
my website
We don't
is
want to prostitute ourselves, right?
right,
All right.
right. Although maybe in the future, I don't know.
Yeah.
No, I'm only kidding.
If they pay by the inch, I'll go broke. But go ahead.
www.trans, TRANS,
No.
then Fran, that's easy, right? FRAN, and then Cisco is with an S rather than a C, SISCO.com, transfrancisco.com. I've got all my contact information up there. My Facebook is Francis Cisco, and a lot of my comedy is up there. Also, I want to plug myself as a... What you
Do you have
say?
any comedy shows coming up you want to mention?
No, actually.
All right,
No,
when
I
you
don't.
do, we'll put it on the show.
Yeah,
Even
I
if you're not
do.
here, I'll pump it up.
This Saturday I'm going to be going to see Mike Marino. I was on his podcast, which
Mike's
was
friends with a couple of my friends.
yeah, live from my mother's basement,
Yeah, it's a
and you
good
can
show.
find that. It'll be up on YouTube in the next few days, actually.
I tell you, my
so you
friend
can
Teresa
find
did
that.
a show with her.
And I think, oh yes, right. And I think Mike said that we'll be doing a show together. So that'll be the next big show I do.
Wow, way over time.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
All right. Anyway,
everybody,
that's a little bit about.
God
me.
bless. Good night. Calm
night.
down,
God
GP. My man.
Nice meeting you, Robbie.
Robbie, I'll call you in
Nice
20
meeting
minutes,
you,
baby.
too.
All right. All right. Bye bye.